Hi everybody and welcome to this video as part of the BK Academy Tutorials, a playlist on the channel homepage with loads of great videos to help you improve your gameplay, so make sure you check them out. Before I introduce this video, it would mean a lot to me if you were to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already, and also share this video if you think this or any other of the tutorials on the channel will help your friends and clanmates in the game. Please let them know. Now, this one is called What Do They Mean? Now, if you've been following guides on my channel and maybe elsewhere, or text guides as well, you may see some abbreviations, terminology and words that you don't quite understand. It may be like you're learning a foreign language at times with Golf Clash, especially if you're going into more detailed gameplay to improve your scores. Now, this video will explain a lot of those terms for you. You can see some of the abbreviations on the screen. You may know some of them already, you may know none of them. You may only need clarification on a couple of things, but there are timestamps down below, so if there's one you want to jump ahead to, scroll down to the video description and click on that link and it will get you to the right part. Now, a lot of these terminology things on screen and in the video will also relate to videos in my Academy tutorials. So for a more in-depth explanation of the methods used and some of the terms, check out the rest of the videos as well. But this is designed to give you a really good overview so you can make the most of the free content here on the channel. Here we go. I'm going to mention wind apps an awful lot in this video, so I thought that would be a very apt choice for the first little segment. There are two available and you can pick which one you like. They're on both iOS and Android now. You've got Notebook for Golf Clash and you've got Clash Caddy. I always have used Clash Caddy, but that doesn't mean to say that Notebook is worse. They're both great and it all depends which interface you prefer. A lot of players are using them. They will help you drop a lot of shots in terms of using the ring system, but note these are not directly affiliated to Golf Clash in any way. These are both external apps, but they don't cost very much money at all and they will help you immensely. So a wind app gives you the amount of rings to adjust. Now, sometimes people will say, why aren't you mentioning the number of rings that I'm adjusting in the video? I do sometimes, but it won't really help you drop shots. You need to really get a wind app yourself because you might be using a different club or have a club with different accuracy, or you might have a different adjustment, and that would mean you would miss unless you actually got the same wind strength as me and the exact same club, and the chances of that are going to be very slim. So having a wind app would tailor make all the figures so they would suit your scenario and the clubs, and you will improve your scores if you are going to use them. Pin check, or abbreviated to PC in my videos at least, refers to getting some plus yardage displayed when you move your bullseye over the pin as shown. So usually, unless I say otherwise, it's always going to be the bullseye, the very center of the target, over the pin. Of course, it doesn't have to be with the thorn, it could be with whatever club that we are going to use, but that's what pin check refers to. In some cases, the pin check will be made using a different colour ring, and I would say that in commentary it might be top of the blue ring pin check, in which case you would move the top of the blue ring to be over the pin. But usually it is putting the bullseye right over the pin, and then you're going to use the plus yards displayed to work out your slider value for the adjustment of the shot that we're going to be playing. Similar to the pin check, we also make distance checks using the fringe, and you can see in the example here, bullseye over the fringe, but make sure you are using the correct fringe line. As you can see, there are two of them. The one is where the fringe meets the green, and the other one is where the fringe meets the fairway. So make sure if you're following any guides or video content that you are using the right fringe line. And once again, majority of cases, it will be putting the bullseye over the fringe in line with the pin from where your ball is. Min, mid and max, referring to the distance of the club that you are in, whether that be min line or max line, or if you're playing tour play you might be using min, mid or max numbers, or indeed on my tournament guides they refer to the numbers that you are using if you are using wind apps. And it is best when you're following content, whether it's from me or another creator, if they are specifying a min, mid or max number, that you use your wind apps, because every club has different accuracy levels. So using the min, mid and max numbers, as in wind apps such as Clash Caddy or Notebook for Golf Clash, will help you drop more shots. So in this example from Clash Caddy, the min value on the left, the mid in the middle, and then the numbers in the red boxes on the right, giving the max distance values for the clubs and club levels that you are using. Rings from min, otherwise abbreviated as RFM, a wonderful way of dropping more shots. We have an Academy video purely on this method, and it's where you count up rings from min to get to the right landing position, and you use the number of rings from min with some tables and charts. You can find rings from min charts on our free BK Golf Clash Facebook group, and it will give you the appropriate slider percentage to use based on the club that you are using. So it's all in conjunction with your wind app. Great way of dropping more shots, because you will be able to measure exactly where you are in your club range. If a shot is described as an NMT shot, it's a very, very simple setup that is easy for you to replicate. NMT stands for no move target, and when you load the hole in any game, it will always put the target in a default position. And a lot of times when we are making shots, you can use that position as your base aim point. Of course, you still have to adjust your rings, but in terms of moving your target anywhere to begin with, that is all done for you. So NMT stands for a no move target shot. Now, sometimes if you're following a guide or a video, you may see P2 or P3 settings, or on my videos I sometimes put P2 or P3 or whatever number. It can be from 0 to 5. Now, this is all about wind apps once again, and there is a setting in Clash Caddy and also Notebook where you can change the Powerball settings, because sometimes, a lot of the time actually, we use the same number that we are using the shot. So if you were using a Kingmaker, it's a power 3 ball. If I don't put any power settings on the video, then you use the same power of the ball that you're using. And you can see on the example there on screen, power 3 ball. But sometimes, especially with par 3s and maybe some approach shots, I will use a different power setting, and you can change these in your wind apps. So make sure if I've put P2 on a shot that you've got power 2 settings in your wind calculator app. Now, using the slider is something we will do a lot, especially dialing in shots, and it may be a completely foreign concept to newer players, but it will help you a lot, especially if you are using wind apps. And of course, it is a tool. Once again, it's on both Clash Caddy and Notebook, but you can see there that little slider there between where it says min and max. Moving that to the left and right will change what we call the slider value. By default, it's set at 50%, which will be mid, and that mid value in the blue box here in the example from Clash Caddy will change according to where you are on the slider. So if I'm saying to play something at 70% slider, you would change that slider setting in your wind app and then look at the mid value. We have got loads of tutorial videos about introducing the slider into your gameplay and building it into your tournament play as well. So make sure you check out those videos on using the slider in your wind apps. Elevation can mean an awful lot of different things, and how it impacts your shot is a whole different video in itself. But usually a shot will either be played with uphill or downhill elevation. So your plus percentage numbers on adjustments usually indicate a shot is played downhill, and negative elevation minus percentage numbers would mean that a shot is usually uphill. Sometimes though we use minus elevation to encounter some scenarios where we would drop down into the bunker. So make sure that you're using the right figure. Again, this is in conjunction with your wind apps, and you will have buttons there where you can input the elevation, positive and negative values. And the other thing, as well as if you're following tournament guides or shots online, the other thing, if you're not a tournament player, you will use sometimes general elevation sheets like these, which you can actually get in PDF format from us on our Patreon page. So make sure you check that out, link in the description down below. And these charts give you a general all-purpose elevation figures that you can use as your starting point. So if you're finding there a tee shot is 20%, you would put that into your wind app, and it will give you a very good start point on how to adjust your rings. So positive, negative elevation, all things that we take into consideration when dialing in and creating shots. EB school or end bringer school, a brilliant method of using your wedge, and you don't have to have the end bringer, you can use different wedges as well. And again, this is in conjunction with wind apps and sliders, but it's really easy to use once you get the hang of it all. Now, the method can be found on my channel, but basically you stretch out to max distance of the wedge in line with the pin, as you can see in that picture, and estimate where the pin stands, and that would be your slider value. And then you play no spin with 20% elevation or whatever I advise, and it's a brilliant way to drop shots. You don't have to worry about adding spin at all. Now, there's a few videos on this online. Quite a few of them are quite complicated and long, so I did my own one. It's called Quickfire Endbringer, and you can learn that method in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes. There are 2 methods to use. I only use the no spin one though, because I think it is by far the most accurate, and that is the one that I cover in my video. So look out for that. Quickfire Endbringer. It's a BK Academy video. That is, in my opinion, your best way to learn a brilliant method of using the wedge in Golf Clash. Sometimes if there isn't a possibility of doing a pin check or a fringe check, then we will use drive distance or drive yards. I use DD sometimes on my notepads on videos to symbolise that, in order to get our adjustment for the approach shots. This is usually done on linear holes or holes that are more straight, because you can then guarantee you've got a pretty accurate adjustment there when you are firing in a direct line from the tee to the pin. So drive yards or DD, you would write down your drive distance, and I will give you a reference. So for example, 300 yards, you might be playing 50% slider, and you can use that number there, that reference number, based on my drop, to give you some adjustments as well. So if your drive is a little bit longer, then you can modify your slider value. So make sure, if I'm using a drive yards adjustment, that you have a pen and paper ready. Write down your drive yardage, because it will help you drop your approach shot. Circle drop and circle break relate to micro adjustments you can make when you're about to take your shot, and they apply, so in the case of circle drop and break, to overpower and underpower, but you can also have circle break curl as well, to the left or the right. I'm going to put a video on screen now. So most of the time when we're taking a shot, you want the ball exactly in the middle of the shot circle when you've dragged your ball down from the tee. Let's have a look at those now. We're going to look at circle drop first. This is primarily for overpower, but there's a centre ball, and I'm going to slowly drag the ball down, and you will see a point where that circle will drop ever so slightly. So that would be the overpower reference, and then you see it start to break, where you can see the triangles emerge. So circle break there, the first point where those triangles emerge from the shot circle, and you can see there it happens to the left and the right, as well as underpower, which is of course moving the ball up, and overpower, of course, which is moving the ball down. So make sure, if I'm using circle drop or just before the circle drops, that you are in exactly that right point, because it will guarantee more accuracy on your shots. Max extension and max rest, usually used on driver target positions when you're finding your aim. I'm going to put the video on here, but max extension is of course where you stretch out to absolute max of your club into the red zone, which would indicate overpower. Then if you would release, take your finger off the screen, the target would fall back to the max rest position, i.e. the maximum distance before you're applying overpower. So there you can see with the APOC, there I'm at max extension with the power 3 ball, and then you can see if I take finger off the screen, the target will fall back to max rest position. So make sure, if you're following guides with that in mind, that you're doing the right one, whether it's max extension or max rest, with the correct club and power ball that is mentioned. FTP, if you see these initials used in the Golf Clash world, it will relate to the balls that you will need to use. And free to play is the actual long version, and that will of course mean any balls that you can buy in-game without spending any money in terms of real-world money. You can spend gems on them, of course. You've got your Marlins, Quasars, Navigators, Katanas, Titans, Kingmakers, and also as an extension of that, Berserkers, Kingslayers and Luminaries are classed as free to play, as you don't need to spend money to win them. You can win Berserkers for free in the Golden Shot, you can win Luminaries and Kingslayers, of course, by doing well in certain skill tier tournaments. So free-to-play guides would only ever use those balls. So if you're not a fan and don't want to go down the premium ball route, look out for guides that are marketed as free-to-play, FTP options in guides, free-to-play balls. Now, in a more general sense, you can use True Club instead of using precise slider values. And you don't have to use the slider, but it does help. But True Club can be a more general alternative, and if we market a shot as being played at True Club, or TC, as I would often abbreviate that to, then you could estimate where you are between the min and max line of the club, so you could quickly find that, and then estimate where your landing position is. So if you think it's 3/4 of the way from min to max, you would play 75% slider. But you can also use True Club for your plus yards displayed, and again you can find charts on that on our Facebook group, and also in spreadsheets like Rings Bible. You can use your landing position plus yards to give you your slider value, so that could be used as True Club as well. But TC would be basically estimating where you are in your club range and then playing your Wind app numbers based on that estimation. Now, I use this one quite a lot in my videos, landing position plus yards, LP or L.pos on the notepads on the screen in my videos. And that will be when you found your position where you are going to land the ball, before you adjust your rings, you look at the plus yards displayed against your target, and you would use that for your slider value. Again, I will always give you a reference on that, so I might say +4 equals 80%, and then you will be able to convert that either 2% per yard or 2.5% based on the club that you are using. But landing position plus yards, very easy way to drop shots, and again it's a one less step to use than fringe checks or pin checks, because you can just get your target in the right position and then use the plus yards displayed to get your adjustment. And finally, we're going to look at 11:59 and 12:01, one of the most subjective and controversial topics in the game, really, in terms of making adjustments at least. These refer to the wind arrow when you are lining up to adjust your rings most of the time, unless specified otherwise you want to do a 12 o'clock pull or just a normal pull, which is having the wind arrow on average pointing north when you're about to adjust. 11:59 is having it pointing slightly to the left. 12:01 is having it slightly to the right. There are different terminologies here: a flicker, small, heavy, light, or a large 11:59, 12:01, all subject to interpretation, but there's lots more to discuss here and how they affect your shot. I've got 3 videos on the channel, check them out, the Academy tutorials on 11:59 and 12:01, but these are really minute details but will help you drop more shots all the same. Thank you very much for watching this What Do They Mean terminology video here on the channel. Now, it's by no means an exhaustive list. I may do a part 2 in the future, but in the meantime, if there's anything that you think I've missed or you want the answer to in terms of Golf Clash terminology, leave me a comment and I will reply as best I can to educate and advise you with what those terms may mean. Thank you for watching and the best of luck in your Golf Clash games. See you soon. Bye for now.